Now, there are hundreds of ideas that I could have used for this video, but instead I'm going to talk about ideas. So there's a flood of ideas that typically goes through one's head in a day. If you are an INTJ like myself, well, then you have maybe thousands of ideas going through your head. For me, it got to a point where ideas were just flooding in second by second. And I noticed that every little action, every little decision I needed to make was paired with dozens and dozens of ideas, to the point where I was paralyzed to make a decision pretty much in every situation. Whether it's running ads for marketing, or picking out a username for a domain, or buying groceries, because there's so many different selections. So the ideas of what to choose controlled my mind, and it still does. I still dwell on things in my life of what I should aim for. So what happens when ideas control your mind? Well, if you're like me, you might be paralyzed in terms of your decision making. You do these constant brainstorms. Ooh, let's do a brainstorming session, and then nothing ever comes of it, because you've come up with so many different ideas and you can't choose one because another idea is flooding in. How did I manage to choose this idea for this video when I could have chosen hundreds of others? How is it that I'm able to sit down and create this video when ideas are constantly controlling my mind? Well, about a year ago, I started writing down all of my ideas. Everywhere I went, I wrote everything down. And it was exhausting. But I needed to get everything in my head out and onto some storage area, somewhere where I can let it sit and percolate, and I can go and revisit it whenever I want. So I created a spreadsheet, and I have columns, and at the top row of this spreadsheet, I have in each column book ideas, movie ideas, video ideas, startup business ideas, you name it. And experiments. I have all these different columns. Article ideas. And I just would put all of my ideas into each column that was related to whatever it was that I had come up with. Now, this isn't where my ideas start because, well, the spreadsheet is quite overwhelming. So I have an on-the-go note-taking app where I can just freely enter it in. I don't have to worry about loading up a massive spreadsheet because, honestly, that can be overwhelming. So I just have a note-taking app, and I can just quickly jot a note down wherever I go. And then I let that idea sit. I might add a few notes to that idea, and then when ready, I just move it over into the spreadsheet. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch combination. But I don't let any filtering happen. I literally write whatever comes to mind. I have a bunch of comedy ideas that are so inappropriate, I may or may not visit them, but the fact is I've written them down and I could use them. Because my mind was being controlled by these ideas. And you might be in the same situation where you want to do something, but where do you start? It's literally paralyzing when you think about all the ideas that you've got floating around. And I hear you. and a simple spreadsheet with note-taking app, that combination, that helped me. Helped me start executing on things. And we're not talking anything fancy here. Literally, it's rows and columns, no formulas, just really straightforward stuff. When I do an idea, I will highlight that cell in a green. After I finish this video, I will highlight the cell in green. That indicates to me that I've completed something. Because it's cool, you could, down the road, if you really want to get all scientific, you could sort by the number of greens versus the number of non-greens, and then determine how many things you've completed out of all your ideas. And I have thousands of ideas that I just keep writing down. Over time, I've noticed that the amount of ideas flooding through my head has been a little bit clearer, and it hasn't really controlled my mind as much. Why? Because I've been getting repetitive ideas down on these apps that I use. Honestly, I just use a Google Sheets and I use Google Keep. Free apps, and that's how I manage all these ideas. Between those two apps, it's taken care of. Google Keep for the quick note-taking, and then Google Sheets for in-depth stuff. I've talked to some others who have a similar idea flood in their minds, and a lot of other people use text editors. I think that's great if you are okay with that. I don't know, I'm on the Google ecosystem, so I like the fact that I can just have everything in the cloud and I don't have to think about it. There's probably maybe even an easier way, like just going to Google Sheets and throwing it all on there. Depends on how your mind works. But the important thing that I'm getting at here is that you don't want your ideas flooding your mind, because then you become paralyzed and can't make any decisions. You can't execute on anything. Once you have a big repository of ideas where you can just go in and pluck away, it's a little bit easier. I'm excited when I make something green. I feel good that I've accomplished it. And as I'm going through life, I can stack up these ideas and get more and more greens, and I know that I'm progressing forward in life. And that's important. Because you have all these ideas. They're flooding around in your head. You can't make decisions. Start doing something with these ideas. Someone that I recommend people check out would be James Altucher. He is someone who makes a point of writing down 10 ideas a day. He's actively looking at 10 ideas for whatever. 10 ideas for a business or 10 ideas to make more money. So he's doing that. And that helped him get out of rock bottom. So that might be someone to check out. He's got a really amazing podcast, incredible material, lots of great books. He might be somebody to look into. For me, I have no shortage of ideas. And I could spend all day writing down ideas. So I'm sort of on an extreme case, and you might be as well, where you have all these ideas and you're not doing anything about them. Well, do what this James Altucher is doing, and then do what I'm doing, which is writing it out. It could be one idea. It could be 100 ideas. I don't want to really put some sort of a daily routine on this. I think whatever it is that you're trying to pursue in life, just get those ideas down. You don't have to really look into it too in depth. But I did find just doing a 10 idea method does help. It does help. And what you'll find by just getting your ideas out there and somewhere to sit, you'll start activating these ideas. You'll start taking action on these ideas, because it will become so burdensome with the amount of ideas on the spreadsheet that it could get a little bit disorganized, and you'll just feel obligated to tackle them because you want to organize your spreadsheet. You want to get things taken care of Because if you look at the ideas unemotionally, you'll start feeling like you want to execute on them. The important thing is, this is something that maybe doesn't get talked about too much, is the emotion and feeling behind an idea. So an idea gets written out, you get it out of your mind, you get it out of your head, you get it down on paper. Don't dwell on what you've written out too much. Try to move on to the next thing, because if you get too emotional around an idea, you might never do it. You might shy away from doing it ever. Or you might delete the idea, which I would say don't delete your ideas. I'm bad at this too. I might look at an idea and I'm like, this is silly, and I'll delete it. It might not be silly tomorrow. You don't know how your emotions are affecting your mindset right now. So I would hesitate to obsess over any ideas. Also, don't rush into an idea, because that's also an emotional impulse. You want to go at it with a clear head. Are you executing on the idea without any sort of emotional pull? That's sort of what I'm getting at, if that makes any sense. Because you don't want to rush into an idea, but you also don't want to delete an idea. It could be very brilliant. No matter how silly it looks today, it could actually be quite valuable tomorrow. And that's the thing, is we get so self-conscious about the ideas that we have that we end up not doing anything about them. And that's scary. We don't want to ruminate. We don't want to ruminate on these ideas that we've come up with. We want to get them out of our head so we can look at them rationally. What you'll start to notice is your mind will be more clear to make decisions on these ideas. And that's really important. You want a nice clear mind when you're going and tackling these ideas. Of course, if you're an INTJ like myself or Elon Musk, you'll have constant ideas, and that's just life. Of course, you can be quite brilliant if you start executing. So start looking at methods of tracking your ideas. It could be handwritten, although that could be quite extreme and also very difficult to manage. So I would definitely consider a digital method if it were my approach, because then I can actually organize thoughts. I can add to things. I can make it green. I just think that you'll have books and books and books of ideas if you get into the paper method. But that might be good for you because you can do free flowing, and that's great too. The big thing is we're trying to get ideas out of our heads onto some sort of storage mechanism, and then we can look at it again. So that's all I've got for ideas. So I hope this helps. I hope it'll help clear your mind. If you've got idea diarrhea, it's a good one. Maybe I should just call this video Idea Diarrhea. Nah, I'm going to go with when ideas control your mind. I feel like that might be a better thing, because it happens to most of us. Okay, until next time, toodles.